and I trained at Hennepin County Medical Center. I went to the U for school. We're here today gathering to not only honor Ismail's contribution to what he did, but to also get some facts as to what's happening in Somalia and what we can learn from the trip that he did bravely, and get some ideas together maybe. Thank you. Ismail.
So I'm in a restaurant hospital?
Actually, case management, so I...
Oh, case management, yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Really, I'm very excited to share with you my experience. And I think that the information I'm going to give you will help the discussion that we are going to have as a group. And the main discussion, I think, this meeting is how we can help in homeland or our country and what we can do. And so I will share what I saw when I was in Somalia, and if you have questions. And I had 3 weeks off from my job, so I stayed 2 weeks in Mogadishu. And most of my time I volunteer at Benadir Hospital, which is a child and maternal hospital. And it's located kilometer 5. And you have any question, the presentation that you don't feel asking while we are here, you can just contact me, my email, and ask me any question you want. So that's my email, first name, last name @gmail.com. This is Benadir Hospital, and everyone knows this is the main entrance of the hospital. And the hospital is two sections, adult and non-adult. Non-adult is the pediatric section, and the adult section is the OP and surgery and medicine section. And all of them, they say this main one. And if you see the next picture, you will see this is the pediatric section. And there is almost 6 different units in the hospital. One of them is outpatient unit, and all the children goes there, and there is a doctor sitting there and doing the visit. And if they need to be admitted to the hospital, then they will go to the other 5 units. One of those 5 units is the diarrhea unit, and it's one of the main floor immediately when you go in, because that was the cholera and the diarrhea was going on at the time, and they needed to have the whole unit. And that unit, as you will see soon, was overcrowded and was the most busy one. This is when you are coming from entering the hospital. Usually you have that gate, and all your escort will just stay there, and they will allow you to go in without any arm or anything, so at least the security is okay. And if you want to go around the city, actually when I was coming from the home and going to the hospital, I had 3 people escort with me, just for safety, but the country is relatively safe mainly. And again, as you see here, the hospital is so big, and it was built in 1977, and was built by China government, and really was first-class hospital at the time. And sadly, the last 20 years, as long as the Somali Civil War was going on, no repairs or rehabilitation was done for the hospital. So as you're going to see, the condition of the hospital is really very poor, and you can't imagine. Well, everyone knows, I'm sure, Benadir Hospital, and most of you, I won't name the people, but yeah.
You were born there?
I was born there. Yeah.
I was born there.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Wow.
How many people were born in Benadir Hospital?
yeah.
Wow.
The staff was really undertrained, and they didn't know what their duty was or what they needed to do. I was doing the round, and I go there, and vital signs was not done. And I said, how's it possible? When was last time I was done vital signs? Even 24 hours, sometimes they skip vital signs. And here we know every 4 hours, every 6 hours need to be done. But I think a lot of things, they were somehow undertrained. So just want to show you a few cases. This is one of the cases of malnutrition. As you see, yeah, it's not the typical malnutrition you see, but he seems like big, but really it's just a swelling. It's just a worm. This is a type of malnutrition. It's diet without protein, and that's the way you see. And actually, this is the bad one. The other type you will see the next picture, which is caucatic, very thin. And he didn't get anything with the protein or any other type of diet. And where you see the mom is just sitting on the floor waiting to be placed somewhere. Sometimes it can take a day or something before they find a place to be placed. And then again, so this is I think, I don't know if they have bed or no. Let's do the next one. And again, malnutrition case, they couldn't be able to do the IV line to give the fluid from here. So they tried to find whatever is possible, and that was the way to do it. A lot of burn injury, mainly from hot water from the cooking, and we have to do something to protect those kids. They just go around at the home and then hit the hot water, and then and actually they did almost 2 big rooms. They were full of burn injury, mainly from hot water. Yeah. This is a measles complication. I was expecting to see some of measles cases, and it's a very easy preventable disease, and the cost is really cheap to vaccine one kid. It's like less than $2 for 2 injections they need, and I saw too many cases, and they have almost half of the 1 unit dose also measles cases. And the problem is not getting the rash of the body, and that's the typical symptoms of the measles. But I think it's the complication that comes after the case, which is mainly pneumonia, malnutrition, diarrhea, which somehow you can treat. But the worst one is the neurologic damage. And the kid you see here is 7 years old, and he had that neurologic damage from the measles, and he was unable to walk around anymore. And I think that will be the rest of his life. So it's very sad that's something that can be prevented easily, and is still witnessing in the new century that we are now living. So it was one of the cases really was very sad to see. This is the person you're supposed to be seeing. You don't see her. Her name is Ikra. She's 30 days infant. She didn't make. She was admitted 5 days to the hospital, and she stayed in the hospital for 5 days and admitted for difficulty breathing, and we found she has anemia, and it takes time even to figure out that she has anemia. So you do the lab and everything is very slow, and the time they knew was anemia and she needed a blood transfusion. The hospital doesn't have effective blood bank. So if you need blood, you have to find your donor, whether that's a family member, whether that's your friend. So luckily they already did some tests, so they knew someone was matching her blood, but that person was not in the hospital at that night, and I think was in Afgoye or El Shabiha, and he couldn't come that night because of the roadblocks and the transportation issue. But she didn't make the morning, and she just expired midnight in her hospital. So it was one of the sad cases. Yeah, just for blood transfusion. Yeah, next case. This parent, and he had 1 kid, and he brought his kid, and he has chronic kidney disease, and he was anemic also, because if you have chronic kidney disease, the cases is anemia is another thing that is more frequent. So someone is testing, and they are trying to find if he matches the blood to his kid, and he matched and donated the blood, and we gave the blood to his kid. So that was very good. This is the one of the units I told you before. It's the diarrhea unit, and as you see, it's overcrowded, and there's no bed available. People just sitting on the floor, and too many small kids at every age, from days old to years. So that was one of the busy one, and the people you will see later on, some people they won't be able even to sit down inside, so they have just to sit down outside of the hospital, of the entrance, and they have to receive the treatment that they need. And they said they needed up to 50 hospital beds, so we were able to deliver the hospital actually within 72 hours, about 100 hospital beds.
Actually the luckiest among millions of them.
Absolutely.
So if this is a Banadr hospital, it's supposed to be nice tertiary hospital.
Yep.
How about the other places? Is this the only place that there's a hospital?
Yeah.
How the rest of
Yeah.
the state?
Those people are the lucky, because they were able actually to reach us. The problem is those who didn't reach us, who stay behind those roadblocks, whether that's in Afgoye, whether that's somewhere else. But the people you see are luckiest, and they made it to come. And they are so sick. What do you think that is? There's 5 different hospitals in Mogadishu. There's Medina Hospital, Dainil Hospital, SOS Hospital, Kayseri Hospital, and the Banat Hospital. There's Martina Hospital, but it's not functioning very well. The settings, all other hospitals, Banat Hospital is the poorest condition. Reason being, all the 4 people, other hospitals, they have international organization sponsoring them. Like Dainil is sponsored by MSF. The SOS is sponsored by the same organization, SOS. There's ACRC that sponsors, I think, the Medina Hospital. So what they do, they don't do a lot of things. They give the salary of the staff, and they give the medical supply. So the hospital charge a small fee to everyone who comes in. Whoever can pay. Whoever cannot pay, they don't ask too much. They let him have the care. But those money they receive the hospital, they just use to do some repairs and keep the hospital good standard. So I went to the hospital in Medina and I visited myself, and I went to one of the, Dr. Mohammed Yusuf was there, and he was doing actually radical prostatectomy, and it's elective surgery, yeah, honestly. So the other hospital, good condition, but this was the worst conditions. Last one is there is no tomorrow. If you are thinking that perhaps when things calm down and here and there, I will do things, I think there is no tomorrow. Today is, imagine that just 30,000 under the age of 5 years died within 90 days of time, and they died from starvation and everything. There's no tomorrow. Today is today, and we have to do whatever we can do. Whether it's small, whether it's big, whether it's education, whether you become an advisor to big institutions who help Somalia.